Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
Denied. James and Jennifer Crumbley get the same answer to their request for a lower bond, but that wasn't the only development in court.
The parents of the suspected Oxford school shooter are going to stay behind bars on a $500,000 bond.
The Crumbleys also waived their right to appeal based on attorney conflicts because the same team is representing both of them. Sean Lay following today's hearing. And Sean, the big news came at the end of this hearing, had nothing to do with the judge's decision.
Right at the very end. Good evening, guys. Here's the deal. At the end of this hearing today, defense attorneys told the judge they will be filing for a change of venue in this case, not wanting to have this trial in Oakland County. I asked prosecutor Karen McDonald about that, and she tells me she fully expects the trial to be held right where it is in Oakland County. You also mentioned the judge and this bond issue, the judge saying no to a lower bond for the Crumbleys. The Crumbleys here today asking for a lower bond to get out of jail, but they disappeared the day before they were charged. The judge rejecting each argument the Crumbleys made why they vanished.
Defendants indicate they were devastated when they heard about the alleged actions of their son, felt unsafe in their home, felt hounded by the press, and found it necessary to leave. However, the chronology of events that occurred subsequent to the defendants leaving their home is not consistent with cooperation with law enforcement. The defendants' actions were premeditated to conceal their whereabouts.
I don't think there's a lawyer, jurist, or member of the public that thinks that that was not an attempt to flee. It absolutely was. I believe it's not even a close call.
Oakland County prosecutor Karen McDonald told me she's been meeting with the victims' families in preparation for the Crumbleys trial, meetings that are incredibly emotional.
There is a lot that community is dealing with, and having your child be shot at school is something that I don't think we're really wired to understand. And these meetings, I think, if I had to describe one word, it's relief that parents and kids have that we're doing something about it. And I think that's their primary focus.
Back here live, in fact, speaking more with prosecutor Karen McDonald. She says those very emotional, very difficult meetings with the families of the victims who not only lost the 4 children, but also who were injured in all this, say they tell her they expect the Crumbley parents to be held accountable here. And she says that's exactly, as a prosecutor, what she is going to do in this case. Back to you.
Sean, the attorney for James Crumbley had a lot of requests to ask on his behalf. Can you get us up to speed on that?
At the very beginning, they asked for a hearing aid for him, saying he's hard of hearing. During the trial, during today's hearing, though, James Crumbley did say that without the hearing aid, he was able to certainly understand the judge. But at the very end, they also said, his attorney said that he does not like where he is in the Oakland County Jail, the situation there with other inmates. They said the lights are also on 24/7. And they asked him to be moved, but the judge said she doesn't control the Oakland County Jail. That's up to the sheriff. Back to you.
All right. Sean, thanks. Today, attorneys for the family of Patrick Lyoya revealed the results of a private autopsy.
It confirmed what was seen in the video. Lyoya was shot and killed by a single gunshot wound to the head. Victor Williams is following today's news conference. And Victor, they brought in a well-known expert here.
Pam, Jason, very well-known expert that has worked on several high-profile cases, including the assassination of JFK and Martin Luther King.
A typical bullet wound of entrance, and it went like this.
It's been concluded that Patrick Lyoya died from a single gunshot wound that went through the back of his skull near the midline at point-blank range.
Confirming a lot what his family said from the first day, that he was killed execution style, being shot in the back of the head, even though he's unarmed, looking away from the officer at the time.
An anatomical diagram was shown displaying Lyoya's injuries. A human skull was also brought in to show the trajectory where exactly the bullet entered his skull and became lodged underneath the skin near his right temple. The independent autopsy conducted by forensic pathologist Dr. Werner Spitz.
Part of the bullet went through the skull and pushed the skin out.
That graphic video was shown once again, showing the police officer on top of Lyoya. Attorneys Ben Crump and Vin Johnson are insisting the officer involved escalated the simple misdemeanor traffic stop, turning it into an execution. Ben Crump believes it's a case of driving while black that led to Lyoya being pulled over in the first place.
It seems to be that this officer was coming from an opposite direction. So how do you know he has issues with his tag registration if you're not even behind him where you can visually see the tag? And so in our community, we call that a classic DWB, driving while black.
And attorneys along with family members are calling this an open case of murder. We know that family members are still very torn up by everything that has taken place. We'll of course keep you updated on any new developments. Victor Williams, Local 4.
All right, Victor, thank you for that.
After yesterday's big snow, spring snow, as it were, things looking up as we make our way toward the weekend.
Yeah, the snow's gone for now. Let's get over to Andrew for a look at what's in store tonight. No more snow, right, Andrew?
I can tell you're both happy about that. Look at those smiles, everybody. Many folks are happy that the snow is gone. It has certainly stopped snowing. Just have a few sprinkles that are out there now. Looking lovely as we look at downtown Detroit. But if you do have dinner plans, you're going out this evening, still need to bundle up. It is chillier than average, colder than average, with 45 degrees currently. Pretty windy, too. Winds at 22 miles per hour and gusting to near 30, making these 40s right here anywhere from 40 degrees over in Pontiac to 42 in Mount Clemens feel like it's in the upper 20s or low 30s. So that's how cold it feels if your skin is not protected. You can see a few sprinkles that are still out there in parts of Oakland County, also here up toward Genesee County, but really not too much to worry about. Just to the east of Pontiac, we have a few raindrops that are falling around Lake Angeles, but that is it. And these sprinkles diminish as we get deeper into the evening and later tonight. In fact, clouds will be breaking apart, but temperatures will be dropping as well, from the 40s into the 30s by the time you join us at 10 p.m. on Local 4 News Plus and at 11 o'clock right here on Local 4. So it remains dry and it gets colder. What about a warm-up? That is on the way as early as tomorrow. We'll talk about that and the rest of the week's forecast in minutes.
In just a matter of hours, the masks were off at airports and on planes, but tonight there's confusion surrounding whether or not we should still mask up. The end of the national transportation mask mandate has been met with both cheers and some fears.
It's been a flashpoint of pandemic frustration for some time now, particularly on planes, but tonight some passengers worry the risk of travel is now higher for them. Our Dr. Frank McGeorge here to help sort all of this out. Good evening, Doc.
Hey, Pam and Jason. Yeah, as a nation, there's been a definite shift toward trying to live with the virus while still acknowledging that it poses a higher risk for some people. Now, the mask mandate on transportation was actually one of the last major restrictions in place that was aimed at protecting the public as a whole. The end of it is generating a lot of strong feelings.
Part of me is excited to see a new normal unfold, but also it's still a little bit unnerving coming out of 2 years of having them.
I'm super excited.
I feel very safe, especially since airplanes are one of the safest indoor places, that I don't think masks are necessary.
I felt much more comfortable keeping mine on. Mixed emotions are understandable, but there are some people who still should not ditch their masks during travel.
I would recommend that people who are at high risk for COVID complications still wear a mask, regardless of your vaccination status. Those would be people who are immunocompromised, people with chronic health conditions, including diabetes or cancer, heart, liver, lung disease, or anyone who doesn't want to get sick.
Dr. Dennis Cunningham is Henry Ford's medical director for infection prevention. He says influenza cases are also on the rise, along with the more contagious Omicron variant BA2.
For anyone who really is worried that they're going to get sick or transmit it to someone in their household who's sick, I think in that case, the masks make a lot of sense.
And if he were to take a flight today?
I would wear the mask. There's still COVID out there. We have influenza. There's always some viruses. And if I'm lucky enough to go somewhere warm and sit on a beach, I don't want to have a runny nose or cough while I'm there.
Now, we also know that most people are unlikely to skip a flight, even if they're not feeling well, which really kind of brings me to another point. If you have to fly or take a train or bus while you're sick, please wear a well-fitting mask to reduce the risk for others.
Yeah, good advice. And Frank, what about people who have children that might still be too young to get vaccinated or a baby that can't mask up?
Well, Jason, it's going to depend on your personal risk tolerance in those cases. For some families, it just may not be worth the risk to fly right now. For others, they may be comfortable knowing that if their kids do get COVID, they're not likely to get very sick. But of course, these are all kind of difficult decisions and challenging times with a lot of interesting choices. And there is certainly one more factor now that people are going to have to take into consideration.
And at this point, we should all be fairly well educated enough to make those. All right. Doc, we appreciate it.
A record number of Republicans are running for governor of Michigan. 10 people filed petitions by today's deadline to challenge Democrat Gretchen Whitmer. Candidates include former Detroit Police Chief James Craig and former TV host Tudor Dixon. The lineup for the August primary could shrink if election officials find problems with submitted signatures. A 10-candidate primary would be the largest in recent history.